Hey there, Joel here. I've been using the iPhone 16 Pro for about a month now, and while it's a fantastic piece of tech and a great iPhone all round, I'm honestly left feeling a bit of regret about upgrading. In today's video, I'm going to explain why I feel this way, and also why the yearly upgrade cycle might be starting to show its cracks. But first off, let's get the good stuff out of the way, because the iPhone 16 Pro is without a doubt an impressive piece of tech. It does have literally everything you'd want and expect from a top tier flagship in 2024. The build quality is rock solid, the display is stunning, especially in bright outdoor lighting, and the camera array is phenomenal, pretty much living up to every promise of what a pro iPhone should deliver. Apple really has nailed the essentials here from both a performance and design perspective, so I've got pretty much zero complaints about the quality itself. Apple really does make some of the most highly engineered, solid phones on the market, and most people will be extremely happy with this phone. But here's where things get a little bit more complicated. The main selling point of the iPhone 16 Pro this year has overwhelmingly been Apple Intelligence, which is a new OS overhaul from Apple that promises to integrate smart features directly into iOS, like advanced writing tools, image generation, custom emojis, and a much more useful Siri experience, all meant to streamline daily tasks and use context and machine learning to get a deeper experience. But here's the issue. The rollout for Apple Intelligence has been frustratingly fragmented, slow, and disorganized, making it really hard to see this feature as a compelling reason to upgrade to a brand new iPhone. Also, not to mention, Apple Intelligence is also available on the iPhone 15 Pro, so its flagship feature is already available on the previous generation Pro iPhone. And honestly, this raises a really big question. Has Apple reached a ceiling in terms of meaningful iPhone innovation? If the headline feature of their flagship model relies on an OS update that isn't even ready at launch and is available on the previous Pro model, it kind of feels like the real upgrade this year is just extra RAM to support a feature we can't even fully use yet, especially for us users outside of the US. Obviously, there are more nuanced features added to the iPhone 16 Pro this year, but if you already have a 15 Pro or later, the Apple Intelligence upgrade just doesn't feel meaningful enough to justify the switch. The feature differences this year are just so incremental, and while the upgrades are nice, they're not exactly groundbreaking. Take the slightly smaller bezel, for example. Sure, it's sleek, and it does give you a slightly larger display, but does it drastically change the way you use your phone? Not really. And after use for a few minutes, is the bezel even that noticeable anymore? Again, not really. Then there are the camera upgrades, like the bump up to a 48 megapixel ultra-wide camera from the previous 12 megapixel. A welcome change, but the ultra-wide is personally my least used camera. I would have much preferred the 12 megapixel 5x telephoto camera to take on a higher quality sensor this year. But my guess is they're just waiting for as long as possible so they can ship it as a new feature in a year or two. And we have to talk about that new camera shutter button with touch controls. This feature was a big selling point for me and appeared to be a really cool and solid implementation that would genuinely enhance the camera app experience. In reality though, I actually ended up turning off the touch controls after about a day and rarely use the shutter button unless I accidentally press it instead of the power button and just remember that it's there. This was a feature I was so sure was going to genuinely enhance the camera experience on the iPhone for me, but it did end up just being a gimmick in my day-to-day use. It's really not something that feels essential and only really serves to convolute the experience rather than strengthen it, which was ultimately disappointing. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that really enjoy the new shutter button and feel like it enhances their overall experience. But for me, so far, it just feels more like something added to justify an upgrade rather than a design choice to strengthen the iPhone experience. That brings me to the core issue I want to discuss, which is the vicious yearly iPhone release cycle. At this point in the iPhone's life, I honestly wish Apple would just slow down the release cycle to make these upgrades feel more substantial. I feel like this is a main component of why iPhones are so harshly mocked every year by people saying the upgrades are so minimal and that this could have been an email. I kind of get why the average user wouldn't be able to notice any large changes year over year. I just personally think a 2-year cycle would give us something to really be excited about again and would genuinely give users more of an anticipation for the latest release. Now, don't get me wrong, the iPhone 16 Pro is the best smartphone you can buy right now. From the design to the build quality, it just feels premium in every way. The display is stunning, the performance is top notch, and the overall user experience is smooth and so rarely crashes. But here's the thing that I keep coming back to. How much further can Apple really push the iPhone from here? This year's upgrades just feel so extremely incremental, to the point where it's hard to not question whether we're nearing a peak in terms of what these yearly releases can deliver. The improvements are there, but it's just so subtle, with minor performance boosts, slightly better camera capabilities, and a few new software features. For the everyday user, these things are unlikely to dramatically shift how they interact with the device or what they can accomplish with it. At this point, it's almost as if Apple is refining perfection rather than evolving the experience. And as impressive as the iPhone 16 Pro is, it really does make you wonder what Apple's roadmap looks like beyond this. Like, are we moving towards a future where iPhone upgrades focus on smaller, niche improvements that only matter to a select few? Or is Apple holding out for a breakthrough that's going to reignite a spark and do what they do best and genuinely innovate? The iPhone 16 Pro does set a high standard, but the yearly cycle is really starting to make the big things seem small. As my recommendation to you, the viewer, if you should upgrade or not, this is undeniably a great phone. It's powerful, iOS is buttery smooth and packed with features on both the hardware and software level. But if you're already using the iPhone 13 Pro or later and don't really care about Apple Intelligence, the changes this year are so subtle that it's really hard to recommend upgrading. Sure, you'll get some performance gains and new features, but they probably won't transform your experience in a way that justifies the price tag. I just wish we could go back to a time where the iPhone felt like it was really doing something revolutionary or fun with its design and features, and not just iterating on the small things. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this, and if you think incremental upgrades are enough, or would you rather see a more substantial, spaced out release cycle? And as always, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Hope you have an awesome day, and I'll catch you in the next one.